They call it the Blackwood Bridge. It is an old thing, made of dark stone, made of rusted iron. It crosses the deep cold water of the Merkwater River. During the day, cars rumble across it, people walk its narrow path. They do not think about the dark water below. They do not think about the night, but at night the bridge changes. When the fog rolls in from the river, it becomes a different place entirely. A place of shadows, strange sounds. A place you do not want to be. The locals have another name for it. They call it the Bridge of Whispers. Few people cross after midnight. The streetlights at either end flicker and die. The town says the wiring is old, but the old folks know better. They say the bridge doesn't like the light. It prefers the dark. It wants to be alone with the fog, alone with the river. If you listen closely on a foggy night, you can hear things, soft whispers that sound like the river but are not, words on the edge of hearing. They promise things, they warn of things. Most people are smart enough not to listen. There are stories about the bridge. People say things go missing at night, a hat, a glove, a pet that ran too far ahead. The stories get darker. Shadows that move on their own, a feeling of being watched from the empty air, a cold spot that follows you step for step. The bridge wants something. It always has. Leo did not believe the stories. He thought they were silly, just spooky tales for campfires. Tonight he had to cross the Blackwood Bridge. It was late, past midnight. He was on one side of the river and his home was on the other. A thick fog was creeping up from the river. It swirled around the stone pillars like a ghostly shroud. Leo pulled his jacket tight. He told himself he was not scared, but a small shiver, a cold one, ran down his spine. He stood at the entrance to the bridge. The streetlight above him buzzed, then flickered. It went out. Now the only light came from the far side of the river, a tiny, hazy glow in the fog. The bridge stretched out before him like a long, dark tongue. It was silent. The usual night sounds of crickets and distant cars were gone. It was as if the fog had swallowed them all. Leo took a deep breath. The air was damp and smelled of wet stone and river mud.
Here we go.
Leo took his first step onto the bridge. The stone felt cold and slick beneath his shoes. His footsteps made no sound. The fog seemed to muffle everything. He walked slowly, his eyes trying to pierce the thick white veil ahead. He could only see a few feet in front of him. The iron railings on either side were slick with moisture. They disappeared into the mist ahead and behind. It felt as if he were walking on a path to nowhere, suspended in a great white void. He felt very, very alone. More alone than he had ever felt before. He kept walking, trying to whistle a tune, but his lips were too dry. The whistle came out as a weak, airy sound that the fog quickly ate. He decided to just walk faster, get it over with. The sooner he was across, the sooner he could be home in his warm bed, away from this cold, silent place. Leo stopped for a moment. He thought he heard something. He wasn't sure. It was a faint sound behind him. It sounded like a footstep, a single, soft tap. He turned around. Nothing there. Thick, swirling fog. The bridge behind him vanished into mist. He must have imagined it. It was probably just the wind, or a loose stone. He turned back. He started walking again, a little faster. His heart beat quicker. Tap! There it was again. Clearer this time, definitely a footstep. Someone trying to walk quietly, but a shoe scraped the stone. Leo stopped. He listened, holding his breath. Silence. A deep, heavy silence. He strained his ears.
Only the river far below. Hello, he called, his voice shaky. Is anyone there? The fog swallowed his words. No answer.
Only silence and the river. He hurried on. He told himself it was an echo, his footsteps bouncing in foggy air. That had to be it. He walked 10 paces, then tap, one step, one for every 10 of his. He stopped. The sound stopped. He took a deliberate step. Thud from the fog. Tap. Wrong echo. Too soft. Too light. A second too late. Leo's blood ran cold. This was not an echo. As Leo stood there, trembling, he remembered one of the stories his grandfather used to tell. It was the oldest story about the Blackwood Bridge. The story of the toll-taker. 100 years ago, when the bridge was new, there was a man who collected a toll from everyone who crossed. He was a greedy, cruel man. He lived in a small shack by the bridge. He was always there, day, night. He would charge people more if they looked poor. He would laugh at them. He had a limp from an old injury. He dragged one foot when he walked. One night a terrible storm rolled in. The river rose high and fast. The man was in his shack counting his money. When the flood came, the water swept his little house away, and him with it. They found his body washed up on the riverbank a week later, but his money was never found. The story says his greedy spirit never left the bridge. He is still there, waiting. He still wants his toll. But he doesn't want money anymore. Not from the people who cross his bridge in the dead of night. The legend said the toll-taker would appear on foggy nights. He would follow travellers from a distance, his dragging foot making a soft tap, scrape, on the stone. He would get closer and closer, but you would never see him clearly. He stayed in the mist. He would follow you all the way to the middle of the bridge, the point of no return. There, in the deepest part of the fog, he would ask for his payment. The story never said what the toll was. His grandfather would always stop there, his face grim. He would just say, "You don't want to know." Leo had always laughed at that story. A ghost with a limp? It sounded like something from a cheap comic book. But now, standing in the cold fog, hearing that soft tap behind him, it wasn't funny. The sound was exactly as his grandfather had described it, a dragging footstep, a sound that did not belong to him. As Leo ran, the fog seemed to grow thicker. It was impossible, but it felt true. The white mist became a solid wall in front of him. He couldn't see the railing anymore. He couldn't see the ground beneath his feet. He was running blind, his arms stretched out in front of him. The air grew colder. A deep, biting cold sank into his bones. He could see his breath puffing out, vanishing into the white soup. It felt like running into a giant freezer. Behind him, the sound changed. Not a single soft tap. Now faster, trying to keep up. Tap, scrape, tap, scrape, tap, scrape. A limp dragging one foot. The sound was getting closer. Right behind him now. He could feel it. A presence. A heavy pressure against his back. He didn't dare look back. He knew if he looked, he'd see it. He did not want to see it. He ran harder, lungs burning. The faint light across the river was gone. The fog had swallowed it. He had no idea if he was running the right way. He could be running in circles. He could be running toward the edge. Panic seized him. He tried to slow to find the railing, but his legs wouldn't obey. They kept pumping, driven by terror. Tap scrape now at his ear. Then a new sound, a voice, a low, raspy whisper in the fog. A dry, cracking sound like dead leaves. The voice wasn't behind him. It was all around him. It came from the fog itself. "Where are you going? The toll must be paid." Leo let out a small, terrified cry. This was real. The story was real. The toll-taker was here. He wanted his payment. Leo squeezed his eyes shut and kept running into the endless, cold white. Suddenly, Leo's outstretched hands hit something cold and hard, the iron railing. He gasped in relief, grabbing onto it with all his strength. He stopped running, chest heaving. He leaned against the railing, trying to catch his breath. The tap-scrape sound had stopped. It was silent again. The terrible, heavy silence had returned. For a moment he thought he had escaped. He clung to the railing, peering into the white abyss. He could see nothing. He listened. He heard only his own ragged breathing and the thumping of his heart. The silence stretched on. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds. He started to think it was over. He had just let his imagination run away with him. The footsteps, the voice, it was all in his head. He let out a shaky laugh.
"Just my imagination," he whispered.
Then a hand grabbed his shoulder. It came out of the fog. It was not a normal hand. It was pale and thin. Long, dirty fingernails. They dug into the fabric of his jacket like claws. It was ice cold. The cold seeped through his coat, through his shirt, into his skin.
It felt like a piece of frozen meat had been clamped onto him. Leo screamed. It was a raw, high-pitched sound of pure terror.
He tried to pull away, but the grip was impossibly strong. It was like his shoulder was caught in a steel trap. He twisted his head around, forcing himself to look. He saw a shape in the fog. A tall, stooped figure, darker than the mist around it. He couldn't see a face. Where the face should have been, there was only a swirling patch of deeper shadow, but he could see the hand that held him, the pale, bony hand connected to a long, thin arm wrapped in tattered cloth. And he could smell it, river mud, decay, old, wet coins. The toll-taker was real. It had him. The thing leaned closer. The patch of shadow where its face should be was just inches from Leo's own. The raspy voice whispered again, this time right in his ear. "The toll!" it hissed. The word was a gust of freezing, foul-smelling air. "Everyone pays the toll!" Leo struggled wildly, trying to break free from the icy grip. He pushed and pulled, but the thin, bony fingers just dug in deeper. Pain shot through his shoulder. He could feel the creature's strength. It was ancient and unnatural. It was toying with him. He saw the creature's other hand rise slowly from the mist. It was just as pale and bony as the first. But this hand was not empty. It was cupped, as if holding something. The figure extended the hand towards Leo's face. "A small payment," the voice rasped. "A little token." Leo thrashed his head from side to side, not wanting to see. He knew it was the toll. The hand came closer and closer, long fingers uncurling slowly, like a dying spider. Leo squeezed his eyes shut. He could still hear the dry, crackling whisper. "Just a piece." A desperate primal instinct took over. He stopped pulling away. He threw all his weight forward towards the railing. He slammed his body against the cold iron, trying to use it to break the creature's grip. The toll taker was taken by surprise. Its grip loosened for a fraction of a second. It was enough. Leo tore himself free, ripping his jacket as long nails scraped his back. He didn't wait. He didn't look back. He scrambled away, half running, half crawling along the railing in the fog. He could hear the thing behind him. It let out a shriek of rage. It was not a human sound, a high, thin wail like grinding rocks and tearing metal. The tap scrape started again, frantic and fast. It was coming after him. Leo pushed himself to his feet and ran, his mind completely blank with terror. All he knew was that he had to get to the end of the bridge. With one final, desperate leap, Leo threw himself off the bridge and onto the solid ground of the road. He tumbled onto the asphalt, scraping his hands and knees. He didn't care. He was off the bridge. He scrambled to his feet and looked back. The fog on the bridge was thick and impenetrable. The shrieking and the scraping sound had stopped. It was silent. The streetlight above him shone with a steady, normal light. It was as if nothing had happened, as if the thing on the bridge could not or would not leave its domain. But he never crossed the Blackwood Bridge again. Some nights, when the fog rolls in, a driver reports seeing a lone figure standing at the edge of the bridge, just staring into the mist as if waiting for someone who will never arrive.